What is up, Retromaniacs? My name is Mike. His name's Joe. His name's EP, and we're here to talk about cards. You know, we talk quite often about the first episode of our podcast. We reviewed an interview Michael Rubin did with Bill Simmons, and we talk a lot about how he really laid out back in early 2022, what Fanatics wanted to accomplish in the hobby. So we thought it would be fun this week to make up a little checklist of the things he talked about that they wanted to do and see how many of them they can check off already. So, what do you think? Should we get into this?
Let's do it.
All right. Yep. All right. The first thing he mentioned was they want to 10x a hobby. Well, obviously, this one isn't really in play yet. They haven't really taken over the hobby. They haven't really had much of a chance, but I wanted to throw that one out there. Let's talk a little bit. What do you think the odds of him doing that are?
100%.
Wow.
Okay. 100%. But define 10xing the hobby. He is going to 10x the money that is made in the hobby for Fanatics Pocket. Those t-shirts that Mike's wearing aren't free. There it is. He is going to 10x the amount of money that Fanatics makes. And we kind of talked about this a little bit on that first episode, but it bears repeating. Does it mean 10xing the amount of people? I don't think it does. I don't think it ever did. I think we were giving him too much credit. I do think he's going to try and 10x the profits that Fanatics makes or any company would make in the hobby. So yes, I do believe he will do that.
2022 seems like it was so long ago, right? Like there's just like the first episode was so long ago, so much. Like think about all the things that we've talked about, all the things that have happened, and how many of those things are Fanatics. Like 10x is going to happen, like Joe said. Like we were thinking 10x the hobby, as in the number of collectors in the hobby, like to grow the overall number of people in the hobby. But yeah, the bottom line is they're probably thinking about money all along, and we just
the bottom line is the bottom line.
Yeah. So they weren't thinking that we were thinking, but I mean they've you just put a ... about this one. Say this just it's not happening yet, but they're gonna get there.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I think he's talking about the overall revenue in the hobby. But in fairness to us, at the time, he did mention that there were only like a collector base of like 5 million people. So, you know, understandable that we may have thought at the time he was talking about people, but I think it's become pretty clear
he was implying it to make us think it. So, yeah, I think that's what it was. A little trick.
All right. So that one is really to be continued there. But the next point that he brought up was they were going to bring influencers into the hobby. I personally think they probably pretty close to checking that one off already. What do you think?
I feel like especially if you're talking about influencers who are already influencers in the hobby, like if you're talking about the bringing those people in and around, I think that's definitely there. And they've dabbled with other people. They've had other people open like boxes and do that sort of stuff. I think didn't Peyton Manning open a box or whatever. So like I feel like they're definitely if they haven't already checked the box off, it's like a half check and they're working on it. You know.
It's funny you bring up Peyton Manning opening a box because that first episode I even said it'd be cool if Peyton Manning was a card collector. I mean, I don't think he actually is. I think he just opened up the box. And I heard that one of the people that opened up a box got this amazing like 1-of-1 like Jackie Robinson. I mean, what are the odds? They got an influencer. That was
amazing.
That was amazing. But yeah, I think when we first talked about this, Mike, you and I were most concerned because we thought it was going to be like bringing in those TikTok celebrities that EP loves so much. And
I do. Huge.
It has turned more into like to have hobby influencers like we know, like Jeff Wilson, Ryan Card Collector 2, they were in Topps products. Like that's weird to me. Like, and the one thing I said is I want to see like real athletes who actually collect cards be a bigger part of that. I don't think they've tapped into that as much as they could and should. So I do think they have influencers. I'd give them the check, but not the type of influencers that I would like to see.
Fair enough. I think too that, you know, give it some time. Really when you look at what they're going to be in like 3 or 4 years compared to what they are now, it's really in its infancy right now. So the fact that we're going to end up with a list here that has so much checked off already, I think is really kind of amazing. But moving on to the next point we talked about was making card shows more like comic cons, comic book conventions, like making them more than your basic card show. Quite clearly, with the formation of Fanatics events, this one is already something they're working on.
Yeah, it is. And, the last couple of weeks on the podcast, we've actually talked about this in detail, so I won't belabor the point. I think at a certain point, we need to realize, though, that events like that will be Fanatics focused. I don't think it's going to be an all encompassing, like different vendors from different companies. If they're going to do something more like a Comic Con, it's going to be Fanatics doing something more like a Comic Con, not turning the National, not turning the Dallas Card Show. We were talking about them being a part of local card shows and taking some of the celebrity talent that they have on the road and almost doing like road shows. I don't think that's going to happen. Again, what we thought or hoped would happen, I don't think it's going to happen. But in terms of checking that box, for sure, they created their own Fanatics events.
A new business, right? Like a new entity.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, while I don't, again, it's like the influencer thing. I'm not in love with how they're doing it, but it's clear they're doing it. Right, EP?
Yeah. And the thing is, I think Joe, again, like we're playing pardon the interruption or whatever. You just score all the points, you won everything. 100% agree with you with that. But one thing I will add that I was thinking about as you were talking about this is like I think a lot of sports people think of comic book nerds, air quotes nerds, dressing up in their costumes for these shows. But when the number of people that are wearing football jerseys and baseball jersees at the card shows that we go to,
right.
like
Not
it's
really
the same
any
thing.
different.
It's the same thing, bro. We're all nerds.
Yeah.
We're all nerds deep down, and just we love different things. And so I mean, like, and again to be in a group of people that are that passionate about something that they love, like I'm all for it, and I'm glad they checked this box off. I'm excited to see what these are and maybe see how close the closest one is to us. Probably Philly, I'm guessing. So yeah.
Can we all make a pact right now that the first Fanatics event that is near us, one of us will go dressed as a football player, one as a baseball player, one as a basketball player, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I was going to
be
say
fantastic, wouldn't it?
One is a football, one is a basketball, and I'll dress up like Spider-Man. I don't know, just like throw a wrinkle into it.
They don't have that license, Joe. That would not fly. They wouldn't let you in.
Not yet, baby.
People are already dressing up like Spider-Man. Like, come on, be original. Be a leader, not a follower. All right. The next part we're going to talk about here is them wanting to make Fanatics a one-stop shop. This is the main part of this discussion. He was perfectly clear. We have said this over and over and over throughout the time we've been doing the podcast. We do these other shows. Michael Rubin has made it very clear from the get-go that he wants Fanatics to be a one-stop shop. I believe what he said was he wanted you to be able to watch the game and pick up your phone. And when you have your phone up, you can buy a jersey while you're watching the game, or you could place a bet on something in the game, or you could buy a trading card, and you can do it all through your phone, like right in the spur of the moment when you're watching the game, you're excited about something that happens, or you're just a derelict that just has to spend money on something. Either way, he doesn't care. Part of the 10xing the revenue.
Right.
But
exactly.
still wants to make it a one-stop shop. And the subcategories under that is to, first of all, you have to have product to be able to sell. You have to have a company, right? They have Topps. They bought a company. They have the baseball license. They're going to have the basketball. They're going to have the football. So I think it's very clear that they're going to have product available for people to buy, correct? They already do.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like the Delio Cruz, they did the Topps Now card with a piece of the bases that he stole like 3 bases in like 2 pitches or something crazy like that. And they already have created. I mean, they probably have not created them yet. They've definitely not shipped out yet, but they've already sold. Like they remember like $4.99 or something like that. These cards with built-in bases, like they are doing that. Like that is the kind of thing where eventually down the road, you would think, or you would not maybe not like to think, but you would think that down the road that stuff's going to be available that night as you're watching the end of the game. Oh, guess what?
NBA draft.
like
the NBA draft, they did the same thing. They had the tops now for draft picks in their draft suits or whatever. Yeah, for sure. They're going to have product. They're going to have a lot of product. They're going to be the only licensed show in town. Like, we made a joke about Panini having to do retired rookies, in their products going forward, because they're not going to have the opportunity. Fanatics is going to scarf up the individual players, the NILs and things like that. And they any players that's going to be in one of those 3 major leagues are all going to have Fanatics cards.
And something we talked about too was like their connection. Like, he has very good relationship with the leagues already. It's just on a different level than the current card manufacturers, Topps before they bought it, Panini, any Upper Deck. So like, I think you're going to see them be able to do stuff that none of the other companies would have been able to do. Like,
for better or for worse.
For better or for worse.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, Topps has been around for how long, and they haven't. How do they not have the best connection with these companies? Like, again, it goes back to the history of Topps not really embracing what they were doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. Then after you buy a product from them, he said, want you to be able to have a place to store it. Surely enough, they go out and they buy PWCC, and now they have a vault. So just like that, another one clearly checked off the list.
Yeah, we can combine it with another one, Mike, the marketplace. So PWCC checks both of those, right? They have the vault, they have the marketplace. Double check on those. There's a lot of baggage with PWCC, but again, if anyone can kind of turn it around or repackage it, it's probably Fanatics, right? I mean,
yeah, they didn't buy PWCC to allow it
to be PWCC, right?
The way it is, and I'm sure the name will be changed at some point.
It'll be Fanatics Vault or
Fanatics. They're letting it operate as it is for now, but I mean, they won't. Right. That's not the way they work. Like, Fanatics likes to have control over everything they're doing. Like, that's what this checklist is all about, because that's how they do business. Like, if you look at the clothing industry, like, they just pretty much tie up everything and push out any competition they might have. They buy whatever they need to buy so they can dominate a market. And that's what they're doing. Nobody should be surprised.
Yep. I said this before, like, PWCC was already in kind of like a rebuild type of mode, because they had hobby influencers watching their live auctions and stuff at night, and like talking about it on their YouTube shows and their podcasts and stuff like that. And like, they were already kind of like building back up to be that building up their reputation after the stuff on eBay. So, and that was pre the purchase, and that's continued. So.
Unfortunately, they were also like taking a beating on all the cards that they gave loans on at like inflated values. So I think they were pretty much in a we have to sell right now kind of mode. They had just laid off a bunch of employees right before. So yeah, I think Fanatics buying them was more of a safety net to save that company. And
I just feel like and there's a boardroom where people are like, oh my God, we're gonna have to sell. We gotta do something. And somebody from Fanatics like peeks in the door, is like, hey, did you guys say something about selling? Like, we got some cash, just
a big briefcase, just a big briefcase. Plop it down. Here's some cash for you.
They're like, here, you can have one stack here. We're gonna keep the rest. I mean, what are you gonna do? Yeah. All right. So they want you to be able to pick up your phone and buy cards. They want you to be able to send them to a place to be stored. They want you to be able to break them. Did they get this one? EP, let me know.
Yep, already done.
Really?
Taken care of. Yep. They got their breaking network all set up.
Fanatics
I'm not sure.
Live.
Fanatics Live. Like, yeah, it's. We're all gonna be part of it, right? We've already signed up.
Mike, yeah, absolutely.
Up? Yeah.
Unless Frank Ray gets his beer and we're sponsored by Leaf. I mean,
then we're out. Yeah.
All right.
But I mean, again, they continue to check boxes. Like, this seems like a pretty easy one, especially considering the way breaking. There's a lot of ne'er-do-wells in the breaking market. So this is one that we've
way to put it.
We've agreed in the past that having some sort of like the hobby regulating it, as opposed to somebody else regulating is a better way to do it. And so I think we are all in agreement that this is probably a decent thing for the hobby, at least in some ways.
In some ways, again, I've said it before. I'll say it again. If you break Fanatics product with anyone but Fanatics Live, boy, oh boy, I'm going to have to check that IQ. We're going to have to ask you to take a test before you can vote kind of thing. Like, that's kind of ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, they're doing it. I saw somewhere on a show recently that apparently like even the way that they're not even doing random teams. You have to pick your own team for now.
Mhm.
Like, apparently they're working on that type of infrastructure to do it in a random way, but they're not letting people do random.org. They're not doing dice rolls, anything like that yet. Right now, it's got to be a pick your team situation. So hopefully, because that's part of like the fun, because a pick your team is, for the best team, it's very expensive. I'm guessing the Angels right now, I don't know anything about baseball, but like one of those teams would be more expensive than another team. That randomness is what makes people enjoy breaks in a lot of ways. So hopefully, if they're going to do that, they change that. But yeah, they're definitely doing it. They have the network up and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched a little bit of it. I've seen some videos about it. I mean, it's not really my thing. I'm not like, you guys watch more breaks than I do, actually, even though I probably participate in more breaks than you. I'm really like only
100% more.
I'm only interested in the ones I'm in. Like, I don't usually find myself watching just for enjoyment, but I mean, they're definitely going to do it their way, and the people that are breaking with them are going to do it their way. And there will probably be a lot of good in that, and maybe some bad. But I think you're right, EP. The hobby really does need to regulate this themselves. Like, they don't want, like, God only knows, because to do it at a government level, it would be at a state level. So then you have all the different states trying to make their own decisions on it. They're all going to have yeah, the hobby being able to do it itself would be good. And I do think the one thing that hopefully will come out of this is maybe Fanatics will set a standard that maybe people that break outside of Fanatics Live might follow. I don't know if they will or
That's
not, but
hilarious.
Still. Well, I mean, not obviously not everybody, but like anybody who wants to be a reputable breaker. Like, right. I feel like legitimate businesses that are doing it, that want to do it outside of Fanatics, may adopt the same kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe I am stupid.
Well, and I think those breakers that you're talking about generally do. Like, you don't see Leighton getting in trouble for dipping cards or anything. Like the bigger breakers are probably doing things the right way. Anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the fly by night whatnot folks that probably need more regulation than we would want out there. Could you imagine if like Texas didn't allow breaking because they were regulated by state, right? And then someone from Oklahoma is like, got a buddy in Texas going, hey, can you sign into this break for me? They don't allow them in this state, but they do in Oklahoma. Kind of like when I couldn't do fantasy football teams in Pennsylvania.
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
Right. And my buddy's signing up in DC.
I don't know what you're talking about. Nobody would do something like that, Joe. Come on.
You're allowed to now, so the statute of limitations are well past. We're good.
Is that how it works?
Yes.
Sure. Okay.
Statute of limitations, that's how it works.
All right. So, he wants you to be able to pick up your phone, buy some cards, send them to a break, send them to the vault, sell them on the marketplace. And the one other part of this that's left is send your card to get graded. This is clearly not one we're going to check off. The real question becomes, are we going to be checking it off? How soon and how?
All right. So I wrote down some quotes from the first episode that I made. Some comments.
Research.
You're
working for the wrong channel.
I know. Quote, this actually makes me really nervous. Quote, this is an investor thing, not a collector thing. Quote, cards shouldn't be graded by companies that make them. I mean, check for me. And here's one last one. Quote, what if they just start churning out 10s to make people happy? I mean, All of that
Yeah.
stuff makes me very nervous about this. We've talked about how they're probably going to buy a grading company or create their own.
Now, who were these quotes from?
Oh, they were me.
Okay, yeah. I just wanted
Yeah,
you
yeah.
to clarify for the viewers who
They
made
were all
the quotes
yes.
in the first episode.
Yes. You know, I this is actually the funniest one of the whole thing. Quote, I wouldn't mind them authenticating things. And then we kind of paused and I said, but if they're coming straight from the company, they better be authentic. Now looking back at that, I laughed hysterically.
Yeah.
Talk about not aging well at all. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm not going to belabor the point. I think it's a bad idea. I would hate to see it happen, but it's going to. It's not a check right now, but I mean, look at all the other checks we have. There's no way he's going to go to this one and go, I'm good. We're good now. There's all this money to make in grading. I'm going to let the other people make that money. No, that's not how he operates. He's gonna either latch onto a grading company or they're going to create their own.
So
soon.
So they get the NFL and basketball licenses in like 2026. Is that what it is, or 20?
I think one's 2025 and one's 2026.
I thought they were both the same year.
I think the one's a year later, but I could be wrong. Yeah.
Okay. But well, as we were talking about, like at the very beginning of this episode, as we started talking, I thought to myself, this is like we're all children of the 80s and 90s. We all have all seen probably Cobra. We have all seen Commando. We have all seen The Matrix. This is the right now what Fanatics is doing is they are doing the load up all the weapons scene. Like they're doing it like where they're strapping on every shotgun, every
guns,
knife,
of guns.
Yes, yeah, they're doing that right now. And the rocket launcher that Armstrong's going to put on his shour, that last piece that he's going to take into battle, that's what the grading company is. I feel like this is that last piece they need for 2026 or whatever. So I feel like that's all they need. They're loaded to go into battle against any other company in the hobby. So
I gotta disagree, EP, because you're looking at it. You're looking at it and explaining it like they're the good guy.
I mean, are really
they are Machine City in the Matrix. All right, they are not Zion. Okay.
They're making new Sentinels.
Machines.
Okay, they're making new
Sentinels.
A lot of people were perfectly happy living in bliss in the Matrix, though. So, like the Matrix, we need to do a video sometime, like comparing the Matrix to the hobby, because I think there are a lot of similarities there. But I digress. Go ahead.
They are their own hero in their own movie, right? Like they are the hero in their own movie. So that's what they're doing.
They're writing and producing the movie.
Right,
so,
right. And they're like right now, like all we need is the rocket launcher, and we're going to get that. And I think it's going to be SGC.
Okay. So let me throw this out to you. Mm-hmm. He did talk about being able to buy the card, break the card, vault the cards, grade the cards if you want to, send them to a marketplace. Could it be possible that the grading part, they could just have group submission deals?
Oh, I thought
somehow,
this too.
Like ComC?
I thought this too. ComC. I thought this too. Yes.
I don't know if they purchase ComC or if they set up something similar that through Fanatics, you can send your card to any of the grading companies and they will send it back. Is it a possibility that they're going to check the box, not by actually owning a grading company, but by working deals with the existing ones, that people who have their cards in the vault can send them there, or have their cards in a break can send them to the different grading companies, and then they're sent back to Fanatics vault?
I'll answer the question with a question. Which one makes them the most money? That's the answer. Whatever one makes them the most nickel and dimes, they will absolutely do that.
Let me ask you a question. Which one do you think that is?
I mean, you don't need the infrastructure, right? Doing it that way, right? Mm-hmm. You're making deals on paper, essentially, right? So that probably is it. Like, to deal with
probably a lot more money being made by PSA though than anybody submitting.
But they're not going to be able to buy PSA. No. Maybe they are. I will say it would be
never yeah.
It would be a way to make money without soiling the hobby, which again, I don't know if he gives a shit about that, to be fair. But like, if you don't want
Typically,
to,
it doesn't seem to be their
right.
MO. Yeah.
And this is coming from Mike, who was all over Fanatic, right? Like he's trying to suck up today, I think. But like, so for them, if they don't want to soil the hobby and make it a bad thing, then they should do it that way. Mike, the making deals with the different grading companies, give some sort of separation of powers or autonomy to grading. But at the end of the day, whatever makes them the most money is what they're going to do. And it could be buying PSA, it could be buying BGS and rebuilding that. But I don't know. I don't have that math skills.
Yeah, I'm not sure how big ComC is in the collecting. I know we've talked about it a lot, and there's a lot of people that talk about it. But like ComC gives you another marketplace, and a marketplace that's very different from PWCC. Because PWCC is a much higher end stuff, where this is more like the stuff that we buy, like the $1, $2 cards, like that kind of stuff. So also they're gonna have, they definitely have a deal with PSA and CGC, but they're also, I believe they were talking about trying to get deals with all of the grading companies. So why not buy ComC, or like you said, at least have a partnership with them? That feels like a really strong move in my opinion. I thought that too. So that's.
Here's a question for you guys. Do you think if they bought ComC, it would be ComC? Would you be able to send in cards, Panini cards, to ComC for the marketplace, or would it be strictly Topps and Fanatics?
I think they'd allow anything.
Yeah.
That they could make money on.
I mean, I think their intention is to be able to break all kinds of product and stuff. So, like the ComC thing, though, like how cool would that be if you could get your cards in a break and have them sent to your ComC account and then decide what to do? Like this hobby, like we show all the time, is not just high-end slabs, like so.
It's probably such a small amount of that, right? Like the hobby, the high-end subs are probably such a small amount.
We're kind of forgotten about in this, like the ComCs, where you can list a card for $1 or $5 and stuff. Like, imagine if you had the ability to buy into a break and your cards go right to your ComC or something similar if they own it, like into your ComC account, like right away, and then you can list all of your cards for $2, $5, do what you want to with them instead of just having to be $1,000 slab
and grade the bangers. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I mean,
and it's if you're an investor, you're begging for it. Like this is perfect for you. Like for someone like me, I don't buy into breaks. I don't sell that many cards. It doesn't make sense. But even EP opening up cases, though EP, here's the thing, for folks like us, we prefer to open up our own stuff.
Right. Well, wait a minute though. You recently said that you were considering having somebody break a personal box for you. Right?
I was, absolutely, because I could get it cheaper. That supersedes everything. Okay. I am very, very cheap. Though I'm glad I didn't. I ended up using that money just to buy a Kenny Pickett card because, again, I thought to myself, wait a minute, I might not get something I like out of this. I'm just going to, and that's why I don't open up product, so I don't know. I don't, at the end of the day, like none of this stuff is really for me, so to speak. I don't think it is for you guys either, but like it really be. All of it though, at the end of the day, all of it pushes towards that 10xing his profit.
Yeah.
It's not about growing the hobby or creating new collectors, though that might happen, but it's all about kind of funneling it towards 10xing the hobby profit wise.
Well, I'll leave it at this. I do think they will buy a grading company. I always have. I just don't think that they're willing to leave such a big part of that process to somebody else. Even though that's the way people have always done it, they've kind of just go in and do things the way they want to do them. I think they're going to buy a company, and I think Beckett seems like a company.
I've been saying Beckett.
That's what, we have been saying that for a while. Mm-hmm. I mean, just totally speculation, but that's where I stand with it. So there we go. We have pretty much everything checked off the list other than a grading company. So
yeah, it's the grading company and tech set, but who knows what their profits have looked like the last couple of years. So maybe they have checked that off the list. Who knows?
Very possible. All right. That was a good discussion. And, at some point we'll revisit it again and see how they're doing. But other than that, we'll see you next week. Take care, guys.
See you.